action.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the Freelander again, getting it ready for its MOT. If you watched my previous video, you noticed that the brakes were grinding on the car. So today we are going to show you how to do the discs and pad change on the Freelander. So we're going to use, last time we used some pretty lightweight tools. We used a 1/4 inch socket set. Today we're going to be using a 1/2 inch set because the bolts and all the fixings for the brakes are a little bit bigger. If you have a look on the floor, we've got a new set of discs and pads. They call them rotors, discs. We've gone for drilled and grooved. Don't know if they're going to be any better. Supposedly give you better braking performance. None of that look a bit funky. And also we've got the big 1/2 inch socket set. So without further ado, I've now got to jack the car up. Come around here and look at this. So if you are contemplating jacking the car up on your drive, I'd definitely put a bit of wood underneath the jack, because there's a chance the jack will sink into tarmac, especially if it's soft. So next thing to do is get the jack underneath, line that up, loosen the wheel nuts up, and then raise the car up. Okay, so put the jack underneath on a bit of wood. Got the jack lined up on the subframe. I'll show you that when I get the wheel off, save me bending down. But now we're going to just slacken off the wheel nuts, not fully, just to break them, because we want to be able to take the wheel off when the jack is up. Now this one's got a cover on it, so we just pop that in, and as you can see the cover's come out. Now I've got to get that out. Right. Schoolboy error. Okay, now then, we've got a locking wheel nut to get off, which is this one here. So we've got the adapter, line that up, put that in and loosen. Okay, now all them bolts are loose. Take that one out actually. We can now jack up the car.
Or is it?
Looks like the jack's lacking a bit of oil.
Make sure you don't have cats in the way.
Do that sometime later. Okay, so wheels off the ground. Just now going to take off the wheel nuts. Should turn off nicely. And the weather's started to rain again. Oh no, it's hail.
Ow!
Let's get this off and we'll put the axle stand underneath. Make sure it's not going anywhere.
And make sure
And
you
then we'll
do.
get out of the hail.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. Wheel somewhere safe to roll over and hit anybody. As you can see, zoom in, the brake pads are pretty low and the brake rotor disc is pretty corroded. As I say, it's been standing a while. You can see if you zoom in there where the pad has been like basically fused on and it's corroded underneath. So the next thing to do is to get the axle stand underneath, make sure it doesn't drop. go, just give it a couple of pumps up. And now for the next job is to take off the brake caliper. Then once we've got that off, we've got to take off the brake caliper holder. Now if I remember rightly, there's 2 bolts at the back of here which seem quite rusty, look to be around about 13 mil, and then if you get in here, you've got 2 bolts there, one at the top, one at the bottom, and you've got 2 bolts there, one at the top, one at the bottom, which hold the caliper on. So let's get them off now. Okay, so now we're going to get it turned out to be a 12 mil socket. It's not 1/2 inch, 12 mil, bit of a strange size. So just put that on there and tap down. That will loosen that off. As you can see, there are the pistons there, which we'll check haven't seized. And there's another one down the bottom. Just feel where that is. And same again, tap down. So now we unscrew those. There's one. Yeah, it's not rusted, so it's definitely is 12 mil. It's not rusted away like the other bolts on the anti-roll bar bushes. Okay, there's the other one. So now we've got to lever off this bit, which I suspect is pretty seized, which it is. So we just give it a bit of a push, go and get a screwdriver or something. Okay, so we opted for a spanner just to wedge in there and free off the best we can. So we get that in. There we go. Very, very rusted, very seized. As you can see, it's coming off slowly. Now when this drops off, obviously we don't want to put too much strain on the hydraulic hose or the brake line. So what we're going to do is just make sure we catch it and then rest it on top. Now looking at that, we've got some serious sort of failure of the rubber seal, but we can look at that. I've got some new ones, but taking them off is a bit of a pain. As you can see from here now, the brake pads are pretty rusted on, seized. They're not too badly worn down, still some meat left on them, but if you compare them to a new pad, they're not brilliant. Okay, so there's the rust. That one is heavily worn down, so that's probably what was grinding. As you can see, it's worn at an angle as well, which is probably where it's seized at this end, and then the brake pad has been pushing against the disc from one end. So the next job is to take the sliders out, and that one's pretty free, that's good. This one is seized, which is probably why the brake pad wore at an angle. So what we'll do now is get the socket to get the caliper bracket off, give all this a clean up, get that unseized, and then we'll remove the rotor. Okay, so the bolt that holds the caliper bracket on is actually a 15 mil. Bit of a weird one, that. 15 and 12, oh well. So get that nice and squarely on, and once again give it a tap, and look how solid that is. Really solid. So we're not going to be able to tap that off, we're going to have to put on the bigger bar to get the leverage to undo it. Try again. There we go. Very tight, very rusty. And now we do the top one. This is a bit awkward because the brake line's in the way. This one should be better because it probably doesn't get blasted with much water when it's on the road. Still tight. Ooh. There we go. Okay, back to the normal ratchet. Undo that. bolts out, bracket off. Not too bad, still got some of the original paint on it. Next thing to do is to get the rotor off. Now the rotor is held on with 2 screws. Now 2 years ago, maybe a bit longer, when I changed these discs, I did put grease on them. As you can see, there's grease on the wheel nuts. I'm hoping that that shouldn't be too much to take out. There you go. Look at that, there's one there. There's one there. Okay, so opted for this tool, which is a large, I suppose it's Phillips, Phillips screw driver bit onto the 1/4" drive socket, and hopefully with a bit of a turn you're going to loop. So that pays for greasing them last time, makes your life a bit easier. Oop. Over there. The other one down here, pull that in. Yeah, loose as well, that's good. Now if you do have a problem where these are very, very tight, then obviously you've got the WD-40 option, and it's still no good. You've got the blowtorch option, and if you still can't get them out, drill them out, because generally speaking they're just there to hold it in place. If you think about it, when you put the wheel on, it's going to hold this in place anyway, so really they're just a superficial screw. You probably, once you've drilled the heads off, you might be able to get a pair of more grips on them, get the thread out and just replace them. I think they're about M6 screws, so you know, you could replace them for a stainless steel Allen key head. Might be a bit easier next time. Obviously it's going to be another 2 years before hopefully we have to get back onto this job again. The brake rotors themselves don't look too badly worn, they're just corroded, so you know, obviously you can see the corrosion's pretty bad. It's not worth cleaning them up. Some people might say keep them. Me personally, brakes, you know, actually stop the car, more important than the going. Right, so now these are quite rusted on. We're going to give them a bit of a tap, see if we can get it off. Obviously the brake disc is going to be thrown away anyway, so it doesn't matter if we damage it. So just give it a nice bit of a tap. There we go. And the rotor is off. Now we can see the back side of it. You can see how badly rusted it is. Yeah, 2 years on the road, would you believe that's the state of it? 2 winters. Okay, so what we're going to do now is clean this up with a wire brush, get rid of some of the loose scaly rust, and then fit the new rotor. Okay, so clean the rust off as much as we can, just get the loose scaly stuff off, pure and simply, so it doesn't, when the weather dries out and the car gets warm and whatnot, these bits of rust may fall off, get stuck in the pad, cause it to squeal. But you know, I'm not going to town massively on it, just cleared off the loose stuff. So the next important thing to do is to get this rotor back on. Now obviously we've got to line these 2 fixing holes up with the existing 2, so it's got to go on the right way, which is like that. There we go. So looking better already. Just gonna go and get some grease to put on them screws, keep it running. Okay, so same stuff as yesterday. CV grease, very good stuff. Like I said, use copper slip, use any grease you've got really, but as long as it's in there, so just turn them on. Okay, now then, when you tighten these back up, you don't want to go massively tight, but we want to be a bit tighter than what they were on the car originally, so just a nice nip up. Okay, nice shiny new disc rotor. Now then, obviously we've got this problem with this now. This one's seized in, so we're going to have to get the pump pliers on that, try and get that free. Have a look at what's happened to this one. Looks like it's fell in half. Let's see if I've got any new ones of them. That'll be good, that, and then we'll have a look at that one. So let's go to the garage, take the bits we need to clean up, and take it from there. Just flick the rubber back and you can see it is turning slowly. Get a pair of mole grips on it or some pump pliers or something. Just give that a twist and pull. Very stuck, that is. Just put it on the floor now so I can put some pressure on it. There we go. So basically what's happened is all the muck and the grease has turned to like a rubbing compound, jammed it up. What we'll do is we'll spray that with WD-40, clean them out, clean these up, re-grease them, refit them. So let's get a bit of the cloth. Okay. Bit of a spray. And we'll leave that. It's broken, but we haven't got a spare. So that's another job. Now if we put that back in, I bet it slides really nicely. You can see, look, the muck coming out. It's like a bit between grease and dust and road salt. Let's try again. Okay. Oh, that one has actually split. That's probably why they've all got full of rubbish. Never mind. It is what it is. Starting to slide a bit better. Let's try again. Right, we need to clear that out really. So I'm going to get a bit of a screwdriver. So there's a lot of muck in there. Can't get it out as you can see. So I'm just going to use this bit of a cloth. Jab it in that hole with a screwdriver. Turn it round. Pull it out, there you go, look at that, look how bad that is. It's pretty bad. Same again. Okay, a bit more WD-40. There you go. Really, really full of rubbish. That's it. Not cleaning out. Okay. There we go. Still crap coming out. Right, so that's ready to go back on. Put that back on. Yeah, what's happening with that is that's moving. It's probably want to just tease that back in, but we'll put some grease on it. Back at the cart. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to put a bit of grease back on the sliders. Not too much. Just a little bit. There we go. It's free as a bird now. This one is different. This one goes at the bottom. This has got like a rubber seal on. I think what it is they had so many problems with the bottom ones seizing but they modified it to have this rubber seat on it, this rubber bush I suppose, in an effort to make sure that it didn't seize up, metal on metal, but it's still seized up. So just put a bit of grease on that all the way around. Don't need loads. Let's see if we can get this lined up. Complete fiddle this is. No, will not have it. I think what's happening is that's pushing forward on there. See, it's pushing forward, look. And then it's jamming up. So let's put a bit more grease on. See if we can tease it in. Twisting it. I'm to number 3, trying to get this slider back in. Definitely has swollen up. Whether it's been damaged by the rust or not, I don't think. It doesn't look like it has, but let's try and get that in. Oh, doesn't want it. It will just go in a minute. Nothing in there. I tell you what we're going to try, rather than grease, put a bit of WD-40 on it. Definitely pushing up. Yes, that is turning out to be a bit nightmare. Let's try it without grease. As you can see, it's just sliding up. The best way of looking at this now is to push it in and tease it back a bit, and then it reseats, and then pushing a little bit more, tease it back. There's definitely something out right there. Let's try and get that in. Twisting. No, it's really tight, so there must be some corrosion inside here or something. Okay. Pretty clear. It's as close as we can get it. I think we're almost there. No. Okay. Right. That's proving to be somewhat of a swine. Okay, so we finally got that in. Just by playing around with it for a couple of minutes, but using a screwdriver to lever it in, and it's in now, nice and free. These units are a bit worn out, they've split, but with new pads on they should push up very tight like that, so it'll get us through until we can get some replacement parts for that. So at least we should get through the MOT, we should have decent braking. Right, it's starting to rain now. Sun's gone in. Let's quickly put this back together and then give you an update on how far we get with the other one. Okay, so the weather's gone pretty rough now. The joys of doing your own car outside. It was sunny earlier on, and within 5 minutes it turned into into rain. But the blue skies are in the distance, so I think they're on the way. So basically we'll put the rotor back on, put the pads in place, just going to nip up the bracket bolts at the back, torqued it up to 120 Newton meters. Let's try and get this. There you go, there's one.
Can't see with your head in the way.
Sorry. Okay, there's the other one, 120 Newton meters on them. Okay, the next thing now is to put the caliper back in. Now obviously, because the pads were worn down, the piston has come out. You can see that that piston seal is not brilliant. But it is what it is. We haven't got one to change. To change that seal, you've got to take the whole piston out, which means bleeding the brakes. A bit of a nightmare, but we will do that when I've ordered the parts. It's just not today. The trick now is to get this back in. A lot of people use a G-clamp, squeeze that back in. Now, in theory, you've just got to make sure that the reservoir in the under the bonnet for the brake fluid isn't full, because obviously when you pump that back in, the fluid's going to go back around up through the pipe back into the reservoir. If it's full, it'll overspill and end up, taking your paint off. So the next job is to squeeze that out, which I'm going to do with a bar. This is. Yes, G-clamp required. Pause.
Sunny over there. We're raining over here.
Yes. Right, so we haven't got a G-clamp. Put it on the to-do list to buy. So what we're going to do is get a pair of pump pliers and just squeeze the piston in. Obviously these are adjustable, so as it pushes in, we can tighten it back up and get more pressure on it. So we just literally squeeze it, and as you can see, it's moving back in. Okay. Adjust it again, so get the leverage, and again. Okay, I think that's all the way home. We will be able to see if it's all the way home, because we won't be able to get the caliper on. So, oh, there we go, a bit more. Okay. So now you've got all the clearance you can to get round the pads. So now I'm going to move that back round gently, push the sliders in. And there we go. We are on. Now then, the 2 bolts. Once again, bit of grease, just a little bit, just to make sure everything is easy to put back together and doesn't seize up for next time, because obviously we've got to revisit this job for that. Now these can be a bit of a swine to line up, but there are 2 flats on there, so let's just turn that round. There you go. Have to jiggle it around to line it all up. Okay, there's one in. Now, if you ever change the pads, just the pads, you can normally just undo the bottom one, swing this right up. I'll show you that now actually. So you undo the bolt, take the bottom bolt out, swing it up, take the pads out, change the pads, swing it back down, put the bolt back in. So that is the quick way of doing it. Obviously we have to completely strip it down because of changing the rotor or disc, depends what you want to call it. Okay, so back on with the 12mm socket. Just tighten these up. Don't know what the torque setting is for those, but you've got a Haynes manual, it should tell you. But nice and tight should do the job. And that's it. Now, obviously, piston has been pushed back into the caliper to be able to get the clearance to get it on nice and easy. If you were to put the car back on the road now, when you press the brake pedal, obviously there would be no brakes whatsoever, and the reason for that is because the first couple of pumps on the pedal will actually squeeze the pad up to the disc. So what I'm going to do now is just give it a couple of pumps. If you just watch the brake caliper, you should see it move slightly. There's one and two, and now it's gone, brake pedal's gone hard, and that should now be quite solid. There you go. So that's all tight, they're tight, these are tight, everything looks good. Time to put the wheel on and get it off the jack. At this point we're going to put the tyre back on. Now as you can see, the tyres are pretty good on this car. So as you can see, big stones stuck in the tyre. They may flick off, cause somebody's windscreen to get broken. I generally, if I take the wheel off, I'll just inspect the tyre, make sure there's no big stones stuck in it. There we go, one more there. Now obviously the chances are they get stones stuck in again, but while you've got the tyre off you might as well do it. The other thing you could do is, what, there's another stone? Where?
Must got it off.
Must have fell off, yeah. So the other thing you could do is give the alloy wheel a bit of a clean from the other side, but it's not too bad, so I'm not going to bother with that. Not only that, the weather's changeable, so I don't want to get wet again. Right, so go back down to the car. When you put the wheel back on, try not to catch the guard. It's quite easy, they're quite thin. If you put the wheel on, to catch that and bend it, and then obviously it could rub on the rotor and a disc and make it look sort of grind or damage it. So just be very careful, slide the wheel underneath first. Okay, now you've got to lift it up slightly to get it lined up with the studs. And get this best I can. Okay, so the wheel's on. Let's just get the nuts on, finger tight now. I don't know if anybody's aware of how you do wheel nuts. It isn't as straightforward as what you think. There's a couple of reasons. One, you've got to tighten them opposite. So basically you tighten them like this. Okay, got the locking wheel nut to go on. So they're all nice and tight now. Skip that one. Let's keep hand tighten them. Okay, now remove the axle stand. Obviously your axle stand's got to go underneath for safety reasons, because the jacks can leak slightly and go down, especially on a heavy car like this. But the wheel's on now, so we're just going to slowly lower the car. Okay, there we go. Now then, you need to get the torque wrench. Now for wheel nuts, I've always gone at where is this? 120. We go 130 Newton meters. There we go, which is there. Right there, 120, 40. Okay. like I said, we're going to tighten them in opposites. So we're going to do the locking wheel nut first. There you go, and then we're going to go opposite. Let's go around them again. Okay, remove the locking wheel nut and find the cap that went flying over the carriage floor somewhere, and then we'll give the wheel a bit of a clean up, but we'll take a picture and that will be the opening shot. I think you'll agree that the brakes look pretty cool with the drilled and groove. Do you want to get down a bit and show some of the drilled and groove bits? Okay, still recording. So get the oil off the wheel, grease, the cap there, that just fits on. Now if that's really loose, you can just give it a bit of a squash, it goes a bit oval, but that one's okay, that's on, shouldn't come off. And then we have one brake disc, rotor and pads successfully changed. Obviously ideal for an MOT, but we've got to revisit the seals. The seals look a bit tired, and we'll do that on another video because that is a bit of an in-depth job, bleeding the brakes, taking the pistons out, but it shouldn't be as much work because we haven't got to take all the disc and rotor off. Now obviously we've got to do the other side, but obviously it's just a repeat of what we've just done now. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe and hit that
share button.
Share button, that's the one. Yeah, thank you. Cheers. Okay, just thought I'd show you. I've done the other side now, in reverse order. Well, basically the same as what we did the other one. Very similar problems. The rubber seals here have perished slightly. The piston in the caliper, that seal was okay, so I can only imagine that it must have been a bit of salt or something, of some, you know, rubber, or it's been replaced before, I don't know. But there we go, that's on, all ready to go. I'll just show you the options. So as you can see, they are pretty tired looking, very rusty. Now that may have burnt off. That's hammer ash, just trying to get rid of it. I'll get it off the car. But yeah, very, you can see, in pretty poor state. Brake pads on the passenger side were worn evenly, which is a good sign. But on closer inspection of the driver's side one, you can see obviously from before we said it seized, it's gone down on one end, but it's actually started to delaminate, which is probably caused by excessive heat. So pretty dangerous. Job well done, really. Yeah, so the video may jump around a bit, but I just decided to put this one in just before the other bit, saying, oh, I'm going to do the other side now, to show you that it has been done. And my assistant, the camera crew, have got bored and gone into play Robux or something. So there we go, just got to put the wheel back on and it's all done. Take it for a drive, bed the brakes in. Obviously no heavy braking for the first 1,000 miles, 500 miles, something like that, which will be for me around about 6 weeks. But there we go. So yeah, next job will be the bushes, the MOT, not the bushes, the seals on the brakes, but we'll put in for an MOT next week, see if it passes, if anything else gets flagged up. There is a slight knock on one of the steering arms. I have got that all ready to do, but we'll put it through the MOT, see if it needs doing anyway, see if they pick it up, find out which one it is. Could be steering arm joint, bottom, wishbone, ball joints, don't know, but we're paying the MOT man 45 quid for that, so he can find out which one it is, and then we'll get that done if we need to. So yeah, thank you for watching the video. Like, share, subscribe. Excellent.